Jimmy G, he can hit those passes and then take off, break a few tackles, and go on a huge, that's what Ayuk does. That's what Kittle does. That's what Samuel does. CMC is just another weapon, maybe the best of them when he's at his peak. I love the move. We want to see him stay healthy. There's the whole, like an injury-prone running back on an injury-prone team. Yeah. I don't really buy into that. But as long as he stays healthy, I'm excited, and go Niners.
Let me ask you this, because, it's come out and several different, media outlets have verified this, or at least seems to be true. It came down to the Rams versus the 49ers. And the Rams offered a 2-3 this year and a 4-5 next year. The 49ers offered a 2-3-4 this year and a 5th next year. And that seemed to be enough to do it. So from just an NFL blanket perspective, how much difference would it have made if he landed in the Rams than if he landed here with the 49ers? Is it enough to kind of, quote unquote, shift balance in that division? Is he that big of a player?
Well, it doesn't solve the Rams' offensive line problems, but here's the thing. Christian McCaffrey is the kind of player that can excel even in a bad offensive line, because he can if you get him on the outside, all he needs to do is make a guy miss, and he's going to pick up 6 or 7 yards every time, especially out of the backfield.
Right.
The Rams have missed that dynamic in the backfield since Todd Gurley. Remember what that McVay offense was when they were run first, heavy play action, 3 wide, single back, 11 personnel, and you couldn't stack the box because you've got 3 wide. You couldn't play full defensive coverage because you've got Todd Gurley, who's, breaking off chunk runs, scoring, I think it was like 17, 18 touchdowns that year. And then you get a guy like CMC, even with the offensive line problems, that could have swayed it. I do think that adding that element, it wouldn't make the Rams like maybe the favorite in the entire NFC, but it would certainly maybe boost the needle enough to make them the favorite in the NFC West. So I do think, if that reason alone, getting him instead of sending him to LA, big boost for San Francisco. But I'm personally very excited. I've tried to trade for Christian McCaffrey in a few different leagues because I think he's going to fit in so well with the Shanahan offense and the fantasy realm. I'm really excited with a full week's of work to see what he looks like this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's weird because the 49ers have definitely disappointed this year, 3-4, not where we wanted to be. But every single goal is still 100% intact, despite all the injuries, despite the changing of the quarterback, all those things, and the ups and downs and getting blown out at home by the Chiefs. Doesn't matter if your goal is to win your division and get a playoff run, which we're going to talk about later. Now, a couple things, just want to update you just on schedules. We had our bonus episode on Patreon this morning with 49ers Cutback. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you can go watch that episode. Now that is up with Ant from 49ers Cutback, which was awesome. We finished all of our breakdown. Special teams to be coming out shortly after this, from every single snap, offense, defense, special teams from the Chiefs game, why the 49ers lost so bad. And then tomorrow, we are going to have the stud himself, Tom Quartz, and we are going to have a wonderful, wonderful discussion. I want to make sure I get the time right. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. So early, Rams 49ers talk. And then we've got, of course, our scouting report episode and all that coming up as well. So let's dive in. Let's step back from the 49ers for a second. What's up, Mosquito Killer? I saw you on Croc's show this morning. I thought you crushed it, man. Philip, glad to have you guys with us. Lots of hashtag CCs. So we're going to get back to the 49ers and Rams game in a little bit. Let's talk the Cardinals at Vikings game, because this game, I'm putting money on it. I don't want to say which way I'm going yet. I'm going to let Brian kind of put the script out there. Walk us through it, my friend.
So I want to start by saying I had a good week on my picks last week. I nailed all of my NFC West picks. Unfortunately for the Niners fans, I didn't know the Chiefs were going to win by that much, but I did pick the Chiefs. But I also picked on Thursday night, I think we both were on this, we picked Arizona to beat New Orleans. Mm-hmm. I really like this matchup for the Cardinals. I think this is one of those games where, yes, Minnesota's finding ways to win. And honestly, that's something that has eluded them in the past. Minnesota is just one of those teams that always plays close. A lot of times they end up losing those close games. This year so far, they've found ways to win. But I'm not sold on this Minnesota team. This Kevin O'Connell offense has actually shown large periods of time where they're not able to move the ball. Their last game they played before the bye was against the Dolphins. They had 10 3-and-outs in that game. A lot of people don't realize that because the final score, they covered the spread, but at the end of the day, the first half was they had, I think, 3 points and 10 3-and-outs, and it was a long Dalvin Cook touchdown. Point being, I don't really believe this defense or this Vikings team in general. They play primarily zone, which has served them well, but I think with DeAndre Hopkins back, that's a little bit of a mismatch. He'll find the holes in the zone. This offense in Arizona, regardless of the play calling from Cliff, is much better when DeAndre Hopkins is out there. We saw that on Thursday night. I have had upsets of the week the last 2 weeks. It was Atlanta, San Francisco 2 weeks ago that I called correctly. Last week, I correctly called that the Seahawks would beat the Chargers. And this week, I am picking the Arizona Cardinals not only to cover the 3.5-point spread, I am picking them to win on the road in Minnesota. Not so much a reflection of the Cardinals themselves. I just think this matchup, I think this is a game where we see more. Minnesota, I think, is more of like a 12-14 team. I have them at like number 4 in our power rankings because they're 5-1. I think we finally start to see them come down. I like the way Arizona's defense has been playing a little bit better. So that's my pick. That's my upset of the week. I've got the Cardinals upsetting the Vikings in Minnesota.
Oh, see, like, okay, I think that game could go the way you're saying. But I have a few axioms that I've believed in for a very long time. And that is the game in prime time? Yes or no? The answer is no. That means Kirk Cousins, he's a full go. Coming off the bye week, I like it a lot. I am doing a 2-team teaser. And so I'm doing a 2-team 7-point teaser this week. I put this up on Patreon as well. I'm taking the Ravens in our Thursday night matchup +9 versus the Bucks with 7 points. I'm taking the Vikings +3.5 points over the Cards, bet 10 to win 7. We crushed it last week. Our teasers didn't do well, but all our other bets did well. So that's one of my 2-team teasers. So if you want to bet in the Thursday night game, Ravens +9, Vikings +3.5. And I love this. Look at this comment from, I don't know how to say this. I'm going to say RSR, Ramalia Sportscast.
Ramelia, like familia. Ramelia
Oh.
Sports Report.
It's there we go. Familia. There we go. I'm not Italian. He said, waiting on Les Need to announce Bradley Chubb, Kareem Hunt, OBJ to LA. I love it, man. I'm excited about our show tomorrow with Tom Courts and the Rams family getting together. There's some good people over there, man. I know I don't like the Rams and I hate them and all those things, but I've been watching all of the press conferences this week for the Rams, which breaks my heart. It's interesting. A very different MO on how they handle every single thing, which isn't a bad thing. It's just different. So curious to see how this week plays out. We'll jump back into some more Ram stuff here in a second. But before we do, we've got the Giants and Seahawks game. But before that, hey, if you want to party with us this weekend out in LA, come out, 49ersrushroadtrip.com. We've got parties Saturday night from 3 to 8 p.m. Man, we've got DJ Shadow coming out. We've got Del Fetty and Barrett's coming out. They're doing their Red Out Niners Anthem live, which is going to be great. Crocker's going to be there. We're going to have a pretty damn good trip. So tickets are available, 49ersrushroadtrip.com for Saturday night. Our tailgate, it's unbelievable what we're 4 hours. Unlimited drinks, beer, liquor, food, TVs, raffles, giveaways, DJs, all in the pink lot. So even if you don't have tickets, come party with us. All you got to do is just look for that flag, 49ersrushroadtrip.com. Excited about that one. Now, let's get to the Seahawks. What a surprise, Brian. What a surprise. Is it going to continue or is it coming to an end?
If anyone outside of Seattle predicted that the Seahawks after 7 weeks would be in first place by themselves in the West, you're lying. Stop it. Yeah, it has been a surprise. The biggest thing I think we could not have predicted is how well these rookies have played. That's really what it comes down to. They have, I believe it's 6 rookies, not only contributing, but actually playing solid. And that has been the difference. You've got 2 rookie tackles, 2 of the 3 cornerbacks are rookies. You got a rookie linebacker, and Kenneth Walker at running back has looked phenomenal. That being said, they're still rookies. They're going to be growing pains. The talent level, they're really playing above their talent level. Kudos to Pete Carroll for the coaching. Kudos to John Schneider for the drafting. I don't think it lasts. I think they'll come back down. I think they'll finish more kind of in a middle, like a 9-8, which would be a fantastic season for the Seahawks, all things considered. Like, we couldn't predict that Geno would have worked well in this. As I mentioned, Seattle was my upset of the week last week. I was very convinced that they would run all over that Chargers defense. That's exactly what happened. What I did not predict was how well the Seahawks defense would play against that Justin Herbert Chargers offense. That has honestly been the big difference. The week before, they held the Cardinals, who are nobody's idea of a great offense right now, but they held the Cardinals to 9 points, and that touchdown was not even an offensive touchdown. That's 2 weeks in a row now that these rookies on defense and the rest of the team have really started to step up and play together and been completely different than that just porous Seahawks defense we saw earlier in the season. But that being said, they have to come down. I think they're a candidate to come down this week. The Giants just cannot do anything to get respect. This team is 6-1. 6-1.
Yeah.
The only team with the better record, because the Bills got a bye, so the Bills are 5-1. The only team with the better record is the undefeated Eagles. The New York Giants are 6-1, still underdogs. And you said you have things that have worked well for you. I have things that have worked well with me. That means picking the Giants to cover in games that they're not gross underdogs, and this is one of those. I've got Seattle favored at 2.5 in the poll that I use. I'm going New York all day. This is one of my more confident picks. I'm also going them to win. I like this matchup. I just think that the way the Giants are playing, they're pumped. They're underdogs again. That only adds to their fire. Daboll is doing a fantastic job, and I just like how this matches up. I think it'll be a close game, but it doesn't have to be. If you're picking New York, it can be a 1-point game, and you're still going to cover because the Seahawks are the ones favored by 2.5. I wouldn't call this the upset of the week because I really think it's a little bit of a coin flip game. But I am going to pick the Giants to win this game on the road in Seattle, and obviously to cover that 2.5 as a result.
Yeah, who would have guessed that, you had these two playoff caliber records? I don't know if the teams fill that out as well, but this is interesting. Who would have guessed? And this is why the NFL is so fun, because everything on paper can say one thing and you can expect things to go this way and they just shift completely. So I'm pulling for the Giants, which is weird to say. I mean, it's so weird. Avatar says Seahawks have bad run defense and Barkley is going to eat. I hope so. Yeah, I really hope so. I hope they just gets destroyed.
And Daniel Jones, I don't think the Seahawks defense is prepared for the mobility that is Daniel Jones. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm serious. He ran for over 100 yards last week. Yeah, and Daboll is using him
50 years.
Yeah, since the 50s, I think that the Giants have had a 100-yard quarterback. But Daboll is using him in that way. They're actually, if you really pay attention to how Daniel Jones has played in the past, he's played around behind pretty bad offensive lines. He's tended to hold the ball for too long, and eventually he's fumble prone. He gets hit. There's turnovers. He makes a bad decision. They're getting the ball out very quickly. They're relying heavily on the run game, obviously with Saquon, but they're also getting him on some bootlegs. They're doing some play action. They're making him make quick decisions and just getting the ball out. That's why you're not seeing these 300 or 400-yard passing games, but you're also not seeing the turnovers, and that's the difference. Their defense, advanced metrics, doesn't love this defense, but they're finding ways to keep teams from scoring.
You look at that, man.
Yeah, you look at that. I'm not talking on the Giants side.
My bad.
We're talking the Giants now. If you look at that last play in the Jaguars game, the Jaguars were able to move the ball pretty effectively against the Giants, but what happens? They get to the one, and the Giants, there was no way they were letting him cross the goal line. So this is why I like this Giants team. As long as they continue to be underdogs against teams that are evenly matched like the Seahawks, I'm going to keep picking them, and that is why I think Seattle will show flashes. I think it'll be a very close game. I just like the Giants here.
I like it. It's going to be fun. Now, I'm curious. We had a trade today. Kadarius Toney, former first-round pick, gets traded for a third to the Chiefs. Andy Reid has the type of player, has the type of person that he loves to covet, and Kadarius Toney fits it. Definitely never learned the playbook, all those different issues, but two separate coaching staffs. What are your thoughts on that trade, the fact that the Giants are 6-1 and kind of giving up on assets?
Well, he's not been an asset this year. He's not been playing. He's been injured. You can't even consider, he is not one of the reasons why they're 6-1. So it's easy for the Giants to get rid of him. I like that for the Giants. The Chiefs, I think they might have paid a little bit much for him. They're basically paying on potential. We've only seen that potential once in 2 years. A single game where, don't get me wrong, he looked phenomenal, but he has, number one, been unable to stay healthy, even when he was actually playing last year. Number two, there's been a lot of reports about him maybe not having the effort, like you said, learning the playbooks. Yeah. He's been in the doghouse for now 2 different regimes. To me, that's a red flag. I don't know that I would throw a third-round pick just to see. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, I guess a third-round pick is not as important because your team is already pretty talented. Maybe that's how they thought about it. But I'm going to bet on the side of him not panning out because I just don't think they're maybe hoping he's another Tyreek, and maybe he has that skill set, but he hasn't been able to stay on the field, and he's got a lot of red flags in the character department. Tyreek has red flags in the character department coming in, but that was more like off the field stuff. We never really heard any reports about Tyreek having issues with coaching staffs. We've already seen that in just 2 years with Kadarius Toney, so I have my doubts.
Yeah, there we go. I like it. Now, before we get to the game of the week, at least as far as this podcast goes, real quick word from our sponsor. You guys know what it is. It is winning season at MyBookie. As always, if you want to enjoy the football games, 49ers, or just NFL, or really any sport in general, you can bet on anything over there. MyBookie.ag. We've been with them for years. Very trusted site. Get your money in, get your money out easily. And on top of that, all season, double deposit bonus. Whenever you first deposit your money, let's say you deposit $250, you get $500 credited to your account if you just use our promo code 49ERS or scan this QR code right to the side of me if you're watching this on YouTube. And again, it just sets you up completely. MyBookie is incredible. Bet with us. We're on Patreon. We share our bets every single week, all season long. So join us, mybookie.ag, promo code 49ers. Bet anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. All right. Now, as we are recording this live, the 49ers just started their practice on Thursday. And so just to up a quick couple practice reports, Deebo Samuel with a hamstring, still not practicing today. Kyle Juszczyk, he's already been named out. Drake Greenlaw, he's out with a calf. Armstead, he's not going to play this week. And Juwan Jennings, who probably would have started for Deebo, he's out with a hamstring as well. Still could play. A lot of those players, I expect Deebo to play. I expect Greenlaw to play, but they're not practicing still. So there's lots of injuries there. But now we have this 49ers-Rams matchup in what I would say, and I've been saying all week, the most important game left on the 49ers schedule. This is number one. This game is huge. Brian, take it away.
Yeah, I know the Seahawks are at first, and we can laugh at that, and good for the Seahawks for getting that far. But at the end of the day, this is still going to be between the Niners and the Rams for the NFC West. I completely agree. This game is absolutely crucial. I think it's going to be closer than last time. Last time the Niners came in and just absolutely beat the Rams down. I think they had a chance to get a nice win against the Panthers before the bye, had a chance to get a little healthier, had a chance to sort out some things at running back with Cam Akers no longer being on the field. Van Jefferson been designated to return. Looks like he's going to make his 2022 debut. But I still just like how this Niners team matches up against the Rams. I do. I like Shanahan just seems to his style of offense just seems to work against McVay. And once again, we said the big key difference in their last matchup was the 49ers pass rush against this dreadful Rams offensive line. Well, guess what? The offensive line is in even worse shape, and the pass rush is still there. Nick Bosa came back and played last week. So, yeah, as long as you have those factors, they're going to get to Stafford. Stafford has had his issues. You can say it's the elbow. You can say it's the offensive line. But regardless of what it is, he's not playing as well as he did last year. You still have Cooper Kupp. You just have to be able to contain him. The secondary is more beat up than they were last time, so that might be a little bit of a concern. Maybe you let up a long Cooper touchdown, which is why I think it'll be a little bit closer this time. But I still like the Niners. I don't see them dropping 3 in a row, especially against the division foe, especially when Shanahan has owned McVay. I'm picking San Francisco to win and cover. I've got them at a 1.5.
Ooh, I like it. You know what would be great? If they win this, 4 straight regular season sweeps of the 49ers over there. 4 straight years. They're 7-1 in their last 8 games. Obviously had the loss in the NFC Championship, which is probably the most valuable. But whenever you're looking at in-season games, it's been ice cold. Now the Rams are coming off of a bye. They're getting Van Jefferson back. They're getting Brian Allen back, who's not really good, but better than their third-string center. It's interesting. I hate playing teams off of a bye. I never have enjoyed that. But we'll see here. These two teams know each other. They know what they're going to do. CMC's now with the 49ers, which he gashed the Rams earlier. Bobby Wagner in coverage is not a good thing, and you add in Christian McCaffrey. That's rough there. 49ers should not take this game for granted. I don't think they are. This is the most important game left. And it's number 1. Midpoint of the season, you got a bye week afterwards, so there's no, you're not looking past this. There's nobody to look at. This is it. Niners take care of business here. Not to say that the division's like a lock, but you look at the odds in Vegas. Seattle Seahawks are in first place, right? Well, guess what? They're very low on odds to win the NFC West. They're a distant third. The 49ers
I mean, look
are
at
favorites.
the one time they played the Niners this year already. It wasn't even close. So
Wasn't even close. So if the 49ers can keep locking up this division, however you want to phrase that, I think it's huge. Now, you had this, and here we go, Big Pop. And let's be real. I'm a Niners guy. I'm a Niners fan. That's who I am. Brian's not. Brian picked against the 49ers against the Falcons, and this chat got mad at him. He picked against the 49ers against the Chiefs. This chat got mad at him. Now you have an 8, so a middle-of-the-road confidence on the 49ers. Right now the spread's 1.5.
Right.
So walk us through kind of your confidence level where you're at, because you have them in the midpoint of games this week.
Yeah, part of that is just because at the end of the day, it's still a division game. I don't tend to put high confidence levels on division games because they can go just any which way. They just tend to be unpredictable. You mentioned a few things that puts the Rams in a better situation than they were a few weeks ago. Getting Van Jefferson back, getting that extra bye to kind of heal and have 2 weeks to game plan. And just having already played the Niners once, you get in a little bit different mindset. It's very hard. Niners have been doing it, don't get me wrong, but it's typically very hard to beat somebody twice in the same season. That's just historically that has not been a thing. So that's why I would bump the confidence level down. It's 8 out of 15, so it's still above 50%. It's still one of my more confident picks. But that's kind of how I think of this as far as why.
So the higher the number, the better, right?
Higher the number, the better. So 15 is the highest, and I start with that. So I will go down. Okay, what's the one I'm the most confident in? Okay, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know which one I picked, but it was like, okay, yeah, that's 15, 14, and I got to, okay, what's 8? And that's just kind of where Niners Rams landed.
You know your stuff, man, and you've been right, and you've been right, and you've been right. You've had a couple down weeks, but overwhelmingly positive. You've made us money.
Yet to have a losing record, by the way. Even my down weeks are still 500. I have not had a single losing record in pick'em or against the spread all season. No way that keeps up. Come on, but I'll ride that as long as I can.
Hey, man, I'm a Tony Gwynn better. That has always been my philosophy. Just, man, small gains, consistent gains. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. So, man, it's going to be a huge week. That's all I got to say. And now let's step back from the 49ers real quick. And again, I didn't prep them on this question. What would you say is the biggest kind of shocker in the NFL so far through these kind of 8 weeks into the season? What is the one thing that stands out to you like, whew, and maybe it's something we've already talked about, but what is something that stands out to you as just a big surprise so far?
Giants at 6-1 easily.
Yeah.
The Seahawks are a surprise, but they're still 4-3, and they've had games like the Niners game where they just got absolutely pounded. This Giants team, the only team they've lost to is the Cowboys, who now are realizing that, it's actually one of the best teams in the NFC. And even that game, it was close until kind of the end when Dallas pulled away. They just keep finding ways to win. This is the team that if you look roster, if you're just breaking down in the preseason, everybody, including myself, picking the Giants to finish last. I had the Commanders finishing ahead of them, and it wasn't a knock on Daboll. I loved the Daboll hire from the start. I thought he should have had a head coaching job years ago. What he was able to do with Josh Allen, we're now seeing it. He's able to do with Daniel Jones, not to the level of Josh Allen, but just the fact that Daniel Jones, in his in his 4th season, they declined his 5th-year option. This is a guy we have a lot of tape on now, a lot of data, and Daboll can turn him into a very efficient, actually winning quarterback who actually helps your team. That has been the most surprising. The fact that they're 6-1, and quite honestly, John, unless they completely collapse, they've positioned themselves to at least get a wild card spot at this point. Even if they finish the rest of the year 500, you're still looking at like 10-7, 9-8, and in the NFC that can get you that number 7 spot. I did not see that coming in any way, shape, or form.
It's interesting you brought up, seedings and all that stuff. Like, people don't understand. 14 teams make the playoffs in the NFL, 7 from each conference. Mm-hmm. To put that into perspective, right now, if the playoffs started right now, the Rams would be in with a 3-3 record as the 7th seed. The 49ers are right behind them. The 49ers are 8th right now. Middle of the pack. They're 3-4. But any of those tiebreakers, if they win this game, they're going to own all of them, just because of how good they are in the division. 49ers go 3-0 in the division. Whew, that's going to be huge. With 2 wins over the Rams, that's going to be huge. Teams have to make the playoffs. That's just what it is. And I really do think, and let me ask you this. I don't want to give you the answer or my answer. I want to know yours. What record do the 49ers need to get to win the NFC West? Like, if you had to pick the winning NFC West record, regardless, Niners, I don't care, what would you say? How many wins do you think they have to get to?
At this point, only 10. I don't think you
Only
need 11
10.
or 12, honestly,
Yeah.
because you are, especially if you beat the Rams this weekend, because that's who I think they're going to be competing with. So you're going to have the tiebreaker there. You already beat the Seahawks. If you start off, like you said, 3-0, I doubt they'll probably beat the Cardinals twice at the very least. They'll split 1-1. Now you're looking at 4-1. You know, even if you lose to the Seahawks, worst case you're looking at 4-2 there. But they'll probably beat one of those two teams twice. So 10 wins, 10-7 in this. The Niners are going to lose more games. I'm sorry, the Rams are going to lose more games with this beat up offensive line, and they don't have the pass rush that the defense hasn't looked as great for LA. So I could see them losing at least 4 or 5 more games. Suddenly, I think we were saying what the Rams needed to win. I think we both picked the Rams to win preseason. They needed to win 12 games to do it. It's a different landscape now. 10 wins will get you there, I think, in the NFC West, especially if you win this weekend.
Yeah, I think that kind of helps kind of curtail that a lot. Kali says, man, we got to stop the Rams running attack, which that's not what they're good at. Now, we do not have Eric Armstead or Kinlaw, which is huge. They don't have a lot of guys either. Mm-hmm. I think if Greenlaw plays, and we saw this last week against the Chiefs, when Greenlaw went out, it was over. They scored nothing but touchdowns until they put Chad Henne in. So when Greenlaw went out, that defense changed dramatically. Now, there's definitely more reasons. It's not that simple. But this 49ers defense is great, can be great. It was great against the Rams last time. I don't think it's going to be as good, but I think the 49ers offense can help pick up a little bit. Big Papa, he asked this. 49ers question, can the CMC screen passes beat the 6-man D-lines? Not necessarily the screen passes, but I think that what Christian McCaffrey does, and we saw this in one play, but it was called back on a holding penalty. You're going to have the same 6-man fronts. You're going to see that. But what Christian McCaffrey could do is if you break that initial line, then you have big play city, which we have not had with Elijah Mitchell. We have not had with Jeff Wilson. That's been the issue. I think that's what Christian McCaffrey could do because he's more elusive than anybody we've had back there. You break one, then you get that huge play. I think the way you beat 6-man fronts with Christian McCaffrey is, you flare him out and you've got Kittle coming in over the top because those linebackers are going to stick with 23. And when they do, 85 is going to be wide open. We already saw it in the first week. So anything you want to add to that as far as Christian McCaffrey versus those loaded 8-man boxes and 6-man fronts?
Yeah, you have to view him differently than a lot of running backs. A lot of running backs, to get them the ball out of the backfield, yes, you set up screens. McCaffrey, you don't need to do that. He is legitimately a good wide receiver. He is kind of the opposite of Deebo Samuel in that Deebo is primarily a receiver that can play running back. Christian McCaffrey, primarily a running back who can play receiver. You can either line him up in the slot, or if you've got him out of the backfield, like John said, flare him out. You do not have to throw a screen to the side and wait for that 6-man front to come over. Get him in behind that front. Wait for the rush to get to you, get it out ahead of him. He makes one linebacker miss, and you've got an 8 to 10 yard gain or more if he's got that big play ability to really take it to the house from there. He gives you that extra dynamic beyond just the screen game. One of the many reasons I like him, and one of the many reasons why the Niners threw so many draft picks to get him from Carolina.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of big plays, just came out from Adam Schefter. Jamar Chase dealing with a hip injury, going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. It's not just.
I saw that he missed practice. I didn't see that he was going to be out.
Just came out 4 to 6 weeks for Jamar Chase, one of the best wide receivers, and Devontae Adams not to practice either. This is week 8 of the NFL, baby. We spent so much time talking about injuries, and rightfully so. 100% injury rate. You play football long enough, you get injured. That's all there is to it. That's just all there is to it. It sucks, and I hate it. I don't even like it when it happens to the Rams, and I hate the Rams. It's bad. Now, one more thing I want to get your opinion on, if you don't mind,
Sure.
before we jump out of here. I did a quarterback power rankings, just 2022 and moving forward. And so I ranked them all. I did my elite tier, great tier, good tier, whatever else. And so let me give you just a little background on Jimmy G. That's all I really care about. I'm curious, and I didn't prep him on this, so I'll give you some leeway for sure. What kind of numerical value, 1 through 32, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo belongs as a starting quarterback this year? I had him at 17, and let me just kind of preface this with some other rankings. The NFL, Mark Sessler had him 22. The CBS, Cody Benjamin had him 16. 33rd team had him 17. PFF has him 24. Where, just off the top of your head, does Jimmy Garoppolo fit in that kind of 1 through 32 scale power ranking for quarterbacks?
Before you even said it, my instinct was 16 to 20 range. Just right off the bat, I think 17, 18 is probably very accurate, especially when he has the weapons. If he stays within, he's not going to win you games, or rarely is going to win you games, but if he stays within the structure of the offense and gets the ball to his weapons, he can be an accurate quarterback. He can be pretty good at play action. If everything else is working well, he can drive the train, right? He can be the conductor. There's quarterbacks that, like Baker Mayfield, who might be more physically talented, who have shown that they can't drive the train. They're going to run the train off into the ditch. So I would put him above that 20 spot. I like kind of the 17, 18 range.
Yeah, and Big Papa, I loved it. This is what I'm so fascinated by, is where would Jimmy G be without Kyle, or where would Kyle be without Jimmy G? We're going to find out soon enough. You know, everybody talks about Belichick being one of the greatest coaches of all time and whatever else. He's got a losing record without Tom Brady. And shout out to Sid. She said, I heard this before on Patreon. We dipped our toes into this, me and Ant, on 40 Hours Cutback on our bonus show this morning. So if you want to dive into that in a much more 49ers-centric conversation for today, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/40 Hours Rush Podcast. Every offensive snap, defensive snap, special team snap, Zoom hangouts. We got everything over there. And we got our scouting report for the Rams. That's going to be loaded, the all 22 breakdown later today. So that is there. Now, Brian, we're about to be done with the show. Anything, Clayton, that we missed that we want to get to? Or Brian, what do you got going on that we need to know about so that we can come learn more about the NFL with you?
Same thing as always, guys. If you're not already subscribed to Legit Football, I recommend all of you giving it a try. It's free. You can always unsubscribe. It's such a good way to keep up with the NFL outside of just the 30-minute episode with me every Thursday on John's show. LegitFootball.com. We take the top 6 stories. We break them down for you. You don't need to read these long articles. Just get the snippets. There's injury updates. So if you're playing fantasy football and you want to kind of get the latest on the injury, there's an injury update at the bottom of each email. LegitFootball.com. Enter your email address for free. Give it a try.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to a good friend, Coach Cruz, this morning, and he even brought it up. He's like, man, that thing has been such a time saver, just because he works a lot. So great work, man. I didn't even pay him to say that. He just said it. Big Papa, he's got a question. Will Verrett play, or how much do you think he'll play this week? I do not think he'll play. I think that you sit Verrett and you wait till after the bye week and you slowly ease him in. I think that they learned a lesson, which is huge for Kyle Shanahan, being so stubborn, because they rush a lot of people back, and they did that to Verrett once before 2 years ago and ruined the year for him. So I don't think that they're going to do that. Brian, any updates on Mark Andrews? He did not practice today either, did he?
He did not. The latest update is he is leaning towards playing. Same with Rashad Bateman, but we will not know until maybe another hour or two, like usually about 2 hours before kickoff. But the latest I heard, like an hour ago, is that they're trending, both him and Bateman are trending towards being active tonight against the Bucs. Okay,
I'm going to be selfish here. I'm going to use my own time. Let's say that Bateman or Mark Andrews or both do not play. Who would you start in your flex position? Would you start Jamal Williams, running back for Detroit, or would you start Devin Duvernay?
Jamal Williams. He's going to get more volume. Even with DeAndre Swift back, the fact that Swift has taken long to get back to normal, I think they're going to manage how many snaps he gets. Williams has been a very good replacement. The Dolphins are susceptible to the run, and I think we know that Detroit wants to be a physical run-first team. So yeah, that I would go with Jamal Williams. Duvernay is a home run threat. He's not an every down type of receiver.
And I'm playing a bad team, so I don't need home runs. I just need Tony Gwynn, baby.
We've seen Baltimore wants to go run heavy. Lamar Jackson threw the ball 16 times last week. Only dropped back 19 times. Gus Edwards came back and looked good. They want to control the ball on the ground. And Tampa Bay has actually shown to be pretty bad against the run these past few weeks. So I think that doesn't change tonight.
I like it. Nicole and Harold, they said, John, do we need to stuff the interior defensive line with Ridgeway and McGill? Pass rush, Bosa, Drake Jackson, Sampson, rotation. Give everyone else and put them in the middle. I will say this. Kevin Givens, who's had back-to-back bad games, his two best games of his career were against the Rams. So, again, I've said this all year, and if you watch our breakdowns on Patreon, Kevin Givens is a matchup defensive tackle. he matches up very well against the Rams. So, yes, I am with you. McGill, Akeem Spence, he needs way fewer snaps. But Ridgeway, Givens, McGill, those are the guys I want to see on the inside. And I think that's huge. And Juan, we got royalty. Juan Solis is in the house. He says, can we start Drake already? Damn, he looks good on film. He looks incredible. He got his career high 30-plus snaps last week. Looked good. One of the only players that looked good against the Chiefs. And with Sampson not practicing today, I do think Omenihu would probably get the start over Drake Jackson. But I'm telling you right now, Drake Jackson needs to start. I want Drake Jackson starting next to Nick Bosa, not next to, figuratively speaking, as defensive ends. We'll go there. Kali, Jimmy Ward doesn't seem to be happy about playing nickel. No, and he shouldn't. It's hurting his contract value. I think it's the wrong play. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I really, really don't. And I love Jimmy Ward, but I think this is a bad play. I really, really do. I hope it works out, but I don't like it. Anyway, that's going to wrap up our show today. I want to say thank you to Clayton behind the scenes, executive producers, 49ers George 365, and Tilted Kilt 49er. You are amazing, my friend. Brian, thank you for your time and your expertise and for teaching us all these things. Until next time, stay strong, faithful.